Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1141A, and today's date is December 1st, 2016, and the title of the episode is, During an Economic Collapse, Hyperinflation Will Wipe Out the Savings of the People. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, today we can see that the stock market, well, it hit all-time new highs. At this point, everyone should be very, very worried about what comes next. Now, are they going to crash the economy tomorrow? No. They're going to wait until Obama is out of the White House. They're going to wait until Trump is sworn in. But we can see parts of the illusion that they're trying to keep up. It's starting to fall apart. And you know they can only keep the illusion alive for so long. And we're going to see this deteriorate as time goes on. Because what's going to happen here is that as we come to the end of this year and we move into the beginning of next year, and once Trump, most likely, if he makes it that far, is sworn in, which he probably will be, we're going to see certain things happen. It's not going to happen the day after he gets sworn in, but we're going to see a lot of the statistical information start to change. I mean, we're already seeing bits and pieces of this, but we're going to see unemployment start to move up. And, of course, the corporate media, the U.S. government, will be out there trying to explain it away, why this is happening so quickly. We'll say it's because of Trump, of course. We're going to see initial jobless claims start to move up. We're going to see more stores close because the holiday seasons are over, and the stores, guess what? They didn't really do that well. We're going to see other corporations start to lay off individuals, and the GDP numbers are going to take a dive. Housing, well, the prices are going to start to come down. Houses are going to stay on the market longer and longer. And this will be a type of creeping effect where each week, each couple of weeks, we will see the statistical information change. Because what we're seeing right now is they're preparing for this crash. Now remember, this entire economic collapse has been happening. It's a long, drawn-out process, which we've been following, we've been studying, and when they're ready to do it, you will see the market come down to let everyone know. That's their signal. That's their red flare that they shoot up into the sky to say, look, everyone, the system is done here. And like I said before, we're starting to see signs of this. Now, initial jobless claims, they have soared by over 35,000 or 15% to 5-month highs. This is the biggest two-week rise since December of 2014. Now, very interestingly, right before the elections, the initial jobless claims, well, they took a dive. They went to 43-year lows. And then right after the elections, boom, everything changed. Now we're starting to see this a little bit. They're going to let things go a little bit at a time. This is the signal that things are starting to fall apart. Even Dollar General, the CEO, Todd Vasos, he's saying something doesn't seem right. His company missed its earning expectations, and he's saying that he's really surprised to admit that while on the surface things are supposed to be getting better, the reality is vastly different for low-income U.S. consumers. He said, I know that when we look at globally the overall U.S. population, it seems like things are getting better. But when you really start breaking it down and you look at the core consumer that we serve on the lower economic scale that's out there, the demographic, things have not gotten any better for her. And arguably, they're worse. And they're worse because rents are accelerating. Healthcare is accelerating. And it's doing this on a very rapid clip. Now, we know that things are not getting better. We understand this. We know, yes, the wealthy, the top individuals, they are making money. The middle class, the lower income, suffering. And this is just going to get worse. Now, Obama is continually out there telling us that the job market is fine. It's down to 4.9%. Everybody can get a job. Right? Then the question is, why was there a 100-page report entitled Federal Student Loans, Education Needs to Improve Its Income-Driven Repayment Plan, Budget Estimates? Why did they put this out that said that taxpayers could be on the hook for $137 billion on student loans to be forgiven over the coming years as a result of Obama's executive actions on income-driven repayment plans? Now, these are called IDRs. They're designed to help ease student debt burden by setting loan payments as a percentage of borrower income. We talked about this before. And they extended the repayment periods from the standard 10 years up to 25 years. And forgiving the remaining balances at the end of that period. Now, my question is, if this economy is so great, and we're down to 4.9% unemployment, if we want to go and believe the government, why did we have to modify student loans? Were they modified back in the 80s? No. Were they modified back in the 90s? No. Why did they have to modify them according to the income? Why did they have to extend the payments up to 25 years? I'm going to tell you why. Because those individuals coming out of college, they cannot find the high-paying jobs that they were promised. Most of them can find a part-time job right now. A lot of them are living with their parents because there are no jobs out there for them. That's the main problem. That's why they did this. And it's starting to fall apart right now. We see part of the illusion that they're trying to convince us of, that everything is fine. We're seeing that U.S. manufacturing PMI for November jumped to its highest since March of 2015. And as we go through this, we're going to see different things occur. Now, they're telling us that the manufacturing PMI has increased, but net new export orders, employment, they're declining. So part of this really doesn't make sense. And this is what we're going to see. We're going to see some data that is starting to break away, that things are falling apart. Other data will be manipulated. But eventually what's going to happen, we'll see more and more of the statistical information. Well, they're just going to start letting it go. They're not going to manipulate it the way they've been. And this is a signal, an indicator to let you know that things are starting to rapidly fall apart. We see the global bond market has lost about $1.7 trillion in November. This is the worst monthly meltdown on record. We see the central bankers, they have accelerated their war on cash. And we can see what's happening in India right now, where they demonetize the rupee and people are now hurting. But we have other instances that show that the government is waging a war on, and I should say the central bankers are waging a war on cash. In New Orleans, the local government decided that they're not going to accept cash payments from drivers at the Office of Motor Vehicles. U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers published an article last week stating that nothing in the Indian experience gives us pause in recommending that no more large notes be created in the United States, Europe, and around the world. In other words, despite what is happening in India and all the chaos, Summers still thinks that we should get rid of the $100 bill. Now, of course, they're doing this and they're telling us that the reason for all of this is because we need to stop it because of drug trade, extortion, crime, bribes, human trafficking. But when you do a little bit of a research, you find out that countries with higher denominations of cash actually have much lower crime rates including rates of organized crime. Now, this is coming from the World Economic Forum. And what they're saying is that, yeah, if higher denominations equals lower crime. Switzerland, with its 1,000 Swiss franc note, roughly $1,000, has the lowest levels of organized crime in the world, according to the World Economic Forum. Singapore, which has 1,000 Singapore dollar note, about $700, same. Japan has a 10,000 yen worth $88 today, but they have extremely low crime rates. The United Arab Emirates, whose highest denomination is the 1,000 dirham. Well, guess what? Same thing. When you look at Venezuela, Nigeria, Brazil, South Africa, and many others, organized crime is prevalent, yet each of these has currencies whose maximum denomination is less than $30. So what are they doing? They're trying to convince us. They're trying to use propaganda to brainwash us in thinking that we need to get rid of cash. This is all part of their plan, because what's coming right now is the major collapse. Now, in Venezuela, they are dealing with hyperinflation right now. People are not going in just with cash and paying for it. They're bringing in wheelbarrows of cash, and instead of counting it, they're weighing it. That's how bad it is. And we can see right now they're expecting this to go to 720% this year. And with the largest Bolivar bill now worth just 5 US cents on the black market. Some shopkeepers, well, they're not counting it. They're just weighing the cash. And what's happening is the ATM machines, well, they need to be refilled every 3 hours because the machines can only hold so much cash, and people are taking it out like crazy because it's worth nothing. And that's what's going to happen when this entire system comes down. Your cash that you're holding, that paper, that ink that you think is worth something, is going to be worth absolutely nothing. And we can see from different experiences, one in Venezuela, one in Zimbabwe, Weimar Republic, and many other areas, we can see that people at the time when things were going south, their currency was worth nothing. A lot of people were using it to keep themselves warm by burning it. Others were bringing the wheelbarrows of cash just trying to get a couple pieces of food. And this is what's going to happen here, because we have to remember what's going on. The petrodollar is doomed. The reserve currency, the dollar, I don't think this is going to exist any longer. Which means all of this that's been spread around the world is going to come back to the United States. We're going to have so much currency in here that we're going to see hyperinflation. And it's going to be disastrous. So everyone at this point needs to be prepared for what is coming. And at this point, we can see, by looking at these different indicators, how much time we have. If in a couple of weeks we see the indicators get worse and start to slip, in January if we see it get even worse, well, we know right off the bat, if gold starts to rise very quickly, we know right off the bat things are starting to rapidly deteriorate. And this will be your signal. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.